Welcome to the River Channel. I'm Kaitlyn Doolittle. Riverfest is around the corner, and this is part of Hudson's celebration of its national wild and scenic river. Joining me today are two guests to talk about this year's themes and different events this fun weekend we'll have in store. Joining me today is longtime volunteer and River Channel regular Jackie Bradham to talk more about this week's events, and Michael Laughing Fox Charette, who is a Native American flute musician and a member of the Red Cliff Band and Lake Superior Ojibwe tribe. For starters, Jackie, can you kind of give us a rundown of what the Riverfest schedule will look like starting that July 22nd date?
All righty. Well, Riverfest is like a 5-day celebration of the river, and obviously, we want to get people out there to enjoy that river, and we have lots of activities planned to encourage people to get out, but also to recognize the importance of keeping that river clean, and so we have it available for us to enjoy. I would say the schedule is starts on the 22nd of July, and the very first event we have that kicks off the event, the whole Riverfest, is the cleanup of the river cleanup. So we have people from a variety of organizations and individuals that'll come down and help us clean up the river. That's down along the the lakefront park, and we start at 10 o'clock at the Hudson Bandshell is where we meet. Go out and clean up, and then about 11:30 we come in and bring all the trash that we've collected up to Picnic Point, which is the south end of the park down by the boat launch. And that trash that's collected during the cleanup is used by artist Liz Milanofi, and we have a mascot, which is a metal sculpture of a splashing bass called Scrappy. And every year we have people that will decorate that, take the trash, all the fun things that are found, and put it on the Scrappy in an artistic way. So turning that trash into a treasure, and then Scrappy hangs around throughout Fest, and he also makes trips down to different local parades, and gets to River Falls quite often, just to see what that new skin that he gets. Well, this year we are opening that up to the public, so if there's anybody that wants to come on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 10 to 3, we'll be working on that. So if you want to get artistic with some trash, you can refashion Scrappy, and Liz Milanofi will be there, and she does just an excellent job. Every year he comes out looking different, so he's a fun mascot. And then we can play hide and seek with him also, so that people
Okay.
can find like a tennis shoe or
Right.
whatever. Guns are on there. How many flip flops? I'm always amazed at how many shoes or flip flops or Crocs or are
Mhm.
found in the river. Lots of them. Um, I, After the cleanup, there's a luncheon for the people that are helping with the cleanup. And then we have Carpenter Nature Center is coming with their animal ambassadors, and that's a favorite of the kids. They can come and see um, the turtles and snakes, sometimes owls, or just the different animals that live in the St. Croix Valley. So that's a fun one, and that starts at 11:30 and goes to noon. And then we have a newer program that we've started last year, which is an invasive species control on the St. Croix River. And this year we have the Minnesota DNR and the Wisconsin DNR, and they'll be having booths down by the beach house from 1 to 3, but they're also bringing, the Minnesota DNR is bringing their electrofishing boat to give a demo. So they shock the fish and then see what kind of invasive species they can come up with. They had some really big carp last year. I don't know if I want to go swimming in
Right.
them.
Right.
So that is going to be from the demo, I think, is at 1 and 2, which is, if you're available to come see it, it's lots of fun to watch that, what they come up with in the water. And that evening, the Toonies are returning, and that's an environmental kids puppet show. So they uh, do a great job entertaining the kids and teaching adults and children how to
Mhm.
reduce, recycle, and reuse things, and just how to be good to our environment, which is one of the reasons for Riverfest.
Mhm.
So, and then last couple of years, we've had the family movie night on Tuesday night. So at I'm sorry, 9 or dusk, we will have, I'm not depends on how dark it gets.
Mhm.
They'll be bringing in a big 40-foot inflatable screen, and they'll be showing a movie from around 9 o'clock. And then between the toonies and um, the movie, we have the Hudson Area Public Library will have yard games and things for kids to do. So, I encourage families to bring some blankets and enjoy the
Mhm.
whole evening after the toonies and the movie night. That was fun. We got a little rained out last year, if I remember correctly, but there were some of us that hung in
Right.
there and watched the movie. So Tuesday, that's all of Tuesday. There is a lot going on
Mhm.
Tuesday. And then we continue with more events, which is Wednesday. We have the State of the St. Croix Watershed, which is a speaker coming in, Angie Hung, coming in to discuss the watershed. And that will be right after the daybreak Rotary meeting. So early birds, 7:15 a.m. And then we have Carpenter Nature Center on Wednesday from 9 to noon. We'll have an open house. So it's a family come out to the Carpenter Nature Center Wisconsin campus and enjoy just all kinds of activities. They've got crafts, scavenger hunts, hikes, all kinds of things for the whole family. And also that Wednesday in the morning at 9:30, we've got Whitcamp Park the library has a story time out there at the park. So that's a fun one for the little kids. We move on to Thursday. We're making some
Mhm.
progress here. Thursday, Thursday, that's kind of the huge concert for the St. Croix Valley Community Band concerts is at 7 o'clock, and that's kind of one of the big highlights of the event. We get a lot of people to come out and enjoy that concert, and they always do fun river themed music, marches, all kinds of fun stuff. So it's a nice concert to see. And we also have the library has a music program with Stuart Satz and an ice cream social starting from 6 to 7 p.m. So you can have your ice cream social, you can go down, listen to music at the library, then you can come over and listen to music at
Mhm.
at the concert. So it should be fun. And we have display booths before the concert. So all the different organizations that help put Riverfest together are invited, and environmental organizations also are invited to come down to the park and have display booths and activities for the people that are coming to the concert. Friday, we have a Let's Go Paddling out at Willow River State Park. So if you want to get your kayak out, you can go paddle up to the Willow River Falls and then float back down. That's a fun one. You're going to need to go on to their website to register for that one. And that's at 10 o'clock. And then in the evening on Friday, we have a foraging walk again this year out at Bluebird Hill. Homestead. So that takes us up to the fun day, Saturday, to Saturday.
Mhm.
That's when we start getting into the Native American programming, though some of that overlaps into other dates.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's the rundown of most of the events, except for the Saturday events.
Okay, perfect. Well, we got a
I'm
busy
sorry.
schedule ahead of us, and that's why that website is so helpful to keep us in line with that scheduling.
Yes.
So it sounds awesome. Yeah,
Mentioning that website, that St. Croix fest.org. So that's where people need to head out to find out information about all these events. And also on our Facebook page at St. Croix Riverfest, there's all kinds of events and information.
yeah, perfect, perfect. Alrighty, awesome. And another big part of this multi-day like festivities is focusing on Native American art, and that's where we get to hear from Michael a little bit. For Michael, can you kind of break down when you kind of began your artistic journey, and like how can the arts be a major part of sharing Native American culture?
Um, yeah. So the Native American Arts Program, I believe, is starting that Saturday morning, and we'll be working on Dreamcatchers. And I think that we're going to kind of coordinate together and see if we can do some community building, and talking about the creation stories of some of these things that we partake in, like the Dreamcatcher, like some of our songs, like some of our history, like some of our culture. You know, a lot of times when Ojibwe come out and they'll do some protocol, they always introduce themselves in our language. You know, so I'd like to do that and just say "Buju, hello, Buju Nindanaway Magniduk, hello to all of my relatives out there. Papewa Gush Nindijinikaj, Laughing Fox is my name. Nindamigazidu Dame, I come from the Eagle Clan, and Miss Squabi Kong Nindunjaba. I'm a member of the Red Cliff Band of Lake Superior Chippewa Indians. We're also known as the Ojibwe, and we also call ourselves the Anishinaabe. And we have creation stories for everything out there. Creation stories on why the raccoon wears a mask. Creation stories on how Turtle Island was made, North America. And we even have creation stories on why the Animush, why the dog, why they smell each other's butts. Yes, so we're hoping to share some of those stories with our audience. And these stories are old and they go back so far and so many generations that we don't even know how far back they go. I only know my own grandmother who taught me my stories. She would always say, a long time ago, back when the world was forever cold. So she's directly referencing that time of the Ice Age, some 11 to 13,000 years ago. And it said that these stories even go back further than that. To really know a people, you have to kind of understand their language a little bit. And when I came out and I did say hello to all of my relatives, you know, encoded within that, Nindanaway Maganinduk, I'm not just acknowledging my biological relatives, my aunts, my uncles, cousins, nephews. I'm actually acknowledging that living spirit that we believe resides in all things. So that living spirit that resides in that tree, that living spirit that resides in that river, and even that living spirit that resides in that rock. And when you come from a whole community of people, a whole continent of people that believe everything has a spirit, that makes it harder for us to take and take and take. So some people will say we become a society of takers and not giving enough back to Mother Earth. And you can hear that when we talk about the St. Croix River and the importance of keeping it clean and pristine for that next generation. So whether you know it or not, you're actually practicing Anishinaabe culture in the form of preservation and respecting and honoring that spirit. A lot of our stories deal with plants and animals and how they have helped contribute to us as humans, because if it wasn't for their sacrifices, we wouldn't be here. So, as our Native American program this year is going to focus on more of those kid friendly stories so that we give a spirit to those animals and to those plants. So then maybe our kids will think twice before they pull on the cat's whiskers. Maybe they'll think twice before they pull on that dog's tail. And even the creation story of the Dreamcatcher, which originated with the Ojibwe people, even that story talks about a grandmother spider who, out of unconditional love for, you know, her being a grandmother spider, so many other beings, would teach another grandmother how to build a web that would catch bad dreams. So even when a little kid hears those kinds of stories consistently giving spirit to those animals, those creatures, those plants, we start to understand and respect them in a whole nother light. And that's some of the cultural aspects that we'll be bringing to this year's River Festival. There's back in the day before first contact, you know, all the rivers would have been trails and the lakes would have been super highways full of canoes and full of people exploring these riverways. And there's not a highway built in America or a city built in America that doesn't have indigenous foundation. You know, when the European first arrived, they want us to believe that nothing was here and they built everything. When in fact they did arrive, they would find that there was already 90 to 113 million people already living here, growing, thriving, communicating with one another, and living life in balance and harmony with ourselves and our environment.
All right. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, just like all like lively, sounds like really beautiful, colorful stories that people are able to take in that day. So that's really amazing. Thank you for sharing. Another part, like we have like the storytelling and the flute music, and another arts is also like the culinary arts. Like Jackie, could you touch on just like the different cuisine that'll be offered thanks to Black Rooster and the St. Croix Baking Company on Wednesday?
Yeah, Black Rooster last year did an awesome program for us, and they created an indigenous based menu, and they will be repeating that again. And I think last year was trout, and I can't remember what else went with it, but it was just an amazing meal. They did a great job. So that will be, the cuisine will be running through the 23rd, which is Wednesday, through I think that goes through Sunday. And then the other is St. Croix Baking Company, which is the owner there is native, and he will be having a special on cranberry wild rice sourdough bread. So that should be great. That's a good one. I got to make my stop there.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I can't say no to sourdough, so that sounds really up my alley there. Yeah, and just looking at my notes here, there's other events that are happening in town. The FIPS, the Burkmose Park, Seasons Gallery, Chapter 2 books, and the list kind of seems to go on and on. But yeah, for returning to Michael, you kind of touched on this already, but can you kind of elaborate? What can people expect from the class that you're leading with Make Your Own Dreamcatcher at the FIPS?
Well, we'll learn a little bit about the traditional construction of the Dreamcatcher, starting with the hoop itself, which is usually red willow. Now, the red willow is associated with a few different medicines. When we first cut it, it's still green, and we can bend it into a hoop where we can let it dry for a week, and then we can put a spider's web in there with the idea that the bad dreams will get caught in the web. And then when the sun comes up, the bad dreams will perish in the dawn of a new day. But with the red willow, we actually use the inner bark of the red willow, the green pilif, for our ceremonial tobacco. You know, we kind of think about our tobacco as cigarette tobacco and chewing tobacco with all these additives. But I'm kind of on the mindset of decolonizing tobacco in the sense of what we used to use traditionally. So in addition to that being ceremonial tobacco in use, it's also the main active ingredient in aspirin as well. People will make willow bark tea, you know, for headaches and stuff like that. So you have the Dreamcatcher, you have the knick or the ceremonial tobacco, you have the tea, and then grandma will use it as well as grandma's old thinking stick, huh? You better think about it. But yeah, so we'll be making dream catchers, and depending on people's skill level, you know, things will go quicker or slower, like I said. And we'll just educate, teach the story of the dream catcher, and hopefully just, you know, have a really good experience culturally and bring that history to it. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm. Awesome. All right. Great. Yeah, and also later that afternoon, there's that Native American celebration that Jackie was touching on Saturday. Jackie, can you elaborate what people can expect from that celebration that weekend?
Well, we've got it starts out at 1 o'clock down at the Hudson Band Shell, and we will have a new thing this year is the Chippewa ponies. So they found that there were ponies from the Lac LaCroix indigenous ponies that were on the brink of extinction, and they have been working to increase that. And I think they're now at 150 ponies left on Turtle Island. And the Spring Valley woman is working to bring these ponies back to life back from extinction. So the indigenous ponies will be at the celebration downtown at Hudson at the Lakefront Park band shell, and they will be there. The whole program runs from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, and in addition to that, we will have powwow food. Lisa Mosley will Mose, get it right. Her family will have powwow food there available for sale, and Native American crafts. So there'll be different people there with crafts. One of those will be Melissa Fowler, and she will be also from 10 to noon. She will be at the Phipps Center for the Arts. So if you want to come earlier to see her creations, she does beautiful birch bark and beadwork. But she will also be there later in the afternoon for the Native American celebration. And I think from 1 to 2:30, Michael will be on with his creation stories and flute, which we're looking forward to. And then we have from 2:30 to 4, we have the St. Croix Chippewa Indians of Wisconsin will be doing powwow dancing, and they do the powwow dances. Obviously, they have the singer and the drummer, and there's an MC that kind of explains what the dances are and some of the meanings behind them. And they will do like men's traditional and fancy and grass dances, and then the women's traditional, and then the popular one is the jingle dresses. It's so beautiful to listen to the drums and the dresses jingling. They also usually do an intertribal dance so that the audience can get up and dance with them, which is one of my favorite parts. Though I usually am taking pictures of people dancing, but actually dancing myself. But so the afternoon, there's lots to do from 1 to 4, lots to see down at Lakefront Park at the band shell.
Yeah, and one of those things to enjoy is, Michael, as you said, like sharing stories and your arts. Can you kind of elaborate just a little bit further, like what you'll be sharing, and how audience members can be just like respectful spectators for your art?
Yeah, I've actually invited a few different artists to join me. One is going to be Savor and he's the musical director from the Big Top Chautauqua, and he's going to be my pianist backing me up. And then I invited Kevin Sullier down, who sings, has done a couple shows with Severin and I. We write historical musicals for Big Top Chautauqua. One of them in the past couple of years that we've been doing is an annual show called Anishinaabe. And we kind of run through the timeline of the Anishinaabe people from the creation stories into first contact, then into the 1700s, 1800s, treaty signing era, into the 1900s, and then in the present day and talk about issues there. But for this show, we're going to very much be focusing on some of those younger kids' stories. As you had mentioned, the St. Croix dance troupe will have the powwow and the other dancing in the stories with them. So our focus is going to be some of the history of the Anishinaabe, some of those journeys of our people that we celebrate, like Chief Buffalo, who was instrumental in the signing of the 1854 treaty, which allowed the Ojibwe, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa people to retain their ancestral lands, establish reservations within Minnesota, Michigan, and Wisconsin, as well as maintain our hunting and fishing rights. So at the age of 92, he would travel to Washington, D.C. from Madeline Island in a birch bark canoe. And his story is much celebrated up here as one of those folks who were able to stand up and be the voice of a nation, so to speak. But of course, along with some of that heavier history, we want to be as entertaining as possible as well. So we're going to get some good stories in there. Kevin will be singing in the Ojibwe language for us, backed by Severin's playing of piano. Severin and I also have written a few piano pieces and flute music pieces that'll intertwine well with one another. And of course, the creation story of the flute, which is one of unconditional love. We'll talk about the 7 grandfather teachings, as well as the Anishinaabe journey into our area, and the history of Turtle Island in general. As like I said in the beginning there, most of us Americans, were taught that the explorers, when they first arrived here, that there was nothing here and they built everything. When in fact, we know now that, depending on what sources you ask, 90 to 113 million people already living here and thriving here. There were over 1,000 tribes at one time. Now there are only 578. So we have to do everything that we can to make sure our stories, our culture, our histories are being preserved for the next 7 generations. And that comes through in our language and in our stories.
Yeah, sounds like a really educational and an impactful program. So I know I'm looking forward to attending, even though I'll probably be taking pictures as well. So yeah, questions for both of you guys. What are you looking forward to with the St. Croix Riverfest this year, and anything you're looking forward to sharing with folks?
I can go first. I guess the river cleanup where we kick off the Riverfest is one of my favorites, and the other is the Native American program at the end. So the beginning and the end are my favorite parts of it. And I'd also like to mention that Riverfest, one of my favorite things about Riverfest is the community, all the different community organizations and sponsors that help put this on. I volunteer with a lot of organizations, and Riverfest is the best at just drawing in community members that are interested in the environment and the river and making Hudson a better place, and coming out and enjoying and supporting, our sponsors. Norlake has been for a long time our event sponsor, and NATOW, the Native American Tourism Alliance of Wisconsin, Saranda, the Chippewa tribe, Sustain Hudson. I mean, there's a big long list of all the people that support this event financially, our sponsors, and you can find that on the website, which is St. Croix riverfest.org. Just look for the sponsor link. And then partners, we just have so many partners, like all the different activities and events that are either programs that people put on for the event, or just so many people there. There's like at least 50 people that are organizations and people that are contributing to make this event such a success. So for me, the most important thing about Riverfest is just the collaboration, the cooperation. We need that. We need more of that in America today.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Jackie. For Michael, anything for you that you're excited to share, or anything you want to highlight that we haven't talked about already today?
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate too about the messengers and the helpers, people who help contribute to make this positive conversation happen, to be a part of that medicine. All of us help contribute in every which way that we can. And I travel around the United States quite a bit, and just got back from a trip to Europe. And I'm always looking forward to interacting with people, and being that crazy horse for, like, this is my 4th or 5th year now, and I interact with people from all over the world, and it always amazes me on how that medicine of the flute speaks to other people. And after all these years, I recognize and realize that it transcends language, and it transcends culture, speaking directly to our hearts. So being able to be a part of that positive conversation and give back to that system, those currents, those good vibes. I'm all about that, celebrating our diversities, and in doing so, coming together to create that unity. And I think that we as Americans today, we're kind of redefining what it means to be Americans, because we realize that we're not just a nation of immigrants, but a nation with immigrants, with Native Americans, with African Americans, whose ancestors have all contributed to make this place great and wonderful and beautiful. And it's within that diversity, that diverse voice, that we find our strength and our unity. And it's events like this that help us celebrate that diversity and share our common interests about coming together, preserving our environment, for the future generations. So miigwech, thank you to all of you who helped with that.
Awesome. Yeah, that was beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, and I know I'm looking forward. I always look forward to Riverfest just as both as a reporter and just as a person that lives in Hudson. It's always fun to see different events that they everyone puts together and to bring people together, like you just mentioned, Michael. So, well, with that, those are all my questions. So thank you two so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And from Western Wisconsin Journal, I'm Kaitlyn Doolittle.